How to teach a new dog good manners. What's considered good manners for a dog in one household may not be in another. For instance, you may find it acceptable for a dog to be on the couch, while that wouldn't be acceptable in other houses. The key is to be consistent with what you want. For instance, teaching your dog to go outside to use the bathroom is something you need to be consistent about. Similarly, crate training a dog can go a long way towards good manners. In addition, you'll need to teach your dog how to interact with other humans, starting with teaching it to be affectionate with you. Part 1: Practicing Patience and Consistency. 1. Establish the house rules before the dog arrives. Consistency is essential when it comes to teaching a dog house rules. Therefore, it's important that everyone is on board with the rules before your new dog sets paw in the house. Even if you are adopting a dog by yourself, you need to be consistent. You can't decide getting on the bed one night is fine and unacceptable the next. For instance, no dogs on the furniture is a house rule that everyone needs to agree on. Otherwise, the dog will get confused. You should also agree on things like feeding times, who's going to walk the dog, and a place for the dog to sleep. Decide what words you'll use for each command. For instance, you don't want one person to use crate and another to use bed for the same command. 2. Start at the beginning. When you get a new dog from a shelter, you don't know what it knows and what it doesn't. Plus, the rules you want to establish may be different from the last house it lived in, so it's best to just start teaching your rules right away. Don't assume that the dog knows things like toilet training, for instance. Start teaching toilet training the instant the dog gets in the house. Additionally, start establishing the house rules with your dog. If one of your house rules is don't get on the furniture, begin teaching that to your dog. If your dog gets on the furniture, gently place the dog on the floor and tell it no each time you catch it on the furniture. 3. Know you won't see your dog's personality right away. It takes most dogs a while to adjust to a new family and environment. It can take several weeks, and in some cases, several months, for the dog's true personality to come out. That may mean that you think your new dog doesn't have certain bad habits, only to notice them coming out later. For instance, you may have a higher energy dog than you realized in the beginning. In that case, it may need more exercise than you originally anticipated. Part 2: Training your dog to use a crate and the bathroom. 1. Keep the dog in sight at first. When you're establishing house rules, it's best to keep the dog where you can see it. Try blocking off other rooms with doors or baby gates. If you can't do that, try keeping the dog on a leash for a little while, until you've established a routine. Of course, you need to go out sometimes. Before the dog is crate trained, try putting the dog in a small space, like part of a laundry room. If it's small enough, the dog is not as likely to use the bathroom. Make sure to remove any dangers to the dog, including chemicals, plants, and cords the dog could chew on. Also, the area shouldn't have anything in it you don't want broken, such as expensive furniture or knickknacks. 2. Train the dog to go outside. Take the dog outside every hour to use the bathroom. When the dog goes outside, be sure to praise it enthusiastically, right after it goes. It can also help to use a treat to reinforce the behavior. Watch your dog for signs of wanting to go out. If it squats, circles, sniffs around, or barks at the door, take it outside. If it uses the bathroom outside, give it a treat and praise. If you catch your dog using the bathroom in the house, make a loud noise, like clapping or yelling to startle it into stopping. Say, outside. Take the dog outside. If it continues using the bathroom outside, give it a treat. 3. Teach your dog to go to a spot. Start with something movable, such as a mat with an anti-skid bottom. Using something movable gives you the option to move it easily around your home or even take it out with you. This trick is important because it can teach your dog to stay in one place when you need it to, such as when you have people coming over to your house. Start by introducing your dog to the mat, just lay the mat down in front of it. If the dog shows interest, use a click and a treat to acknowledge the behavior. A clicker is a dog training tool that provides positive reinforcement of a behavior. You can also use a clicking pen for a similar effect. Next, give a treat and click if the dog gets on the mat, then another if the dog lays down. Lure the dog off the mat by tossing a treat away. When the dog comes back, give it a click and treat. Repeat this reinforcement. You can also wait until the dog lays down before giving a click and treat. Start adding in your chosen word. You could use mat or spot, whatever you want, as long as you're consistent. Lure the dog away by tossing a treat. As the dog comes back on the mat, say the word you've chosen. Work on this behavior. Finally, try distracting the dog. You can use a squeaker toy or move away from the mat while the dog is on it. If the dog stays, reward it. If it moves, start again with resetting the dog on the mat. Eventually, add time before you click and treat. After a while, the word will be enough. 4. Train your dog to a crate. Start with a crate that's big enough so that your dog can stand, sit, and lay down comfortably. Your dog's crate is its home, so it needs to be comfortable inside. A crate is a place where your dog can go to be calm. Place the crate in a busy part of your home, so that your dog still feels like it's part of the family. Put a blanket or cushion in the bottom. Open the door to see if the dog explores on its own. If it doesn't, call it over. Put some treats inside to encourage the dog to crawl in. Once your dog enters the crate a few times, try feeding the dog in the crate. If your dog won't go all the way in, put the food as far as your dog will go, then eventually move it all the way in during subsequent meals. After a few times, try closing the crate just while your dog eats. If the dog whines, wait until the dog stops to let it out. Next, try crating your dog when it's not mealtime. Show your dog a treat to get it to go inside. You can use a word to associate with the crate, such as crate or bed. When it goes inside, give it the reward, and also praise it. Close the door, but stay quietly nearby. Let the dog out in 10 minutes or so. Leave the room for a few minutes. Come back and wait another minute or two, then let the dog out. Increase how long you leave the dog in the crate over time. Eventually, you can leave them in the crate for short periods while you're gone. You can also try crating your dog overnight, but you may want to start with the crate in your bedroom. Part 3: Teaching your dog how to interact with people. 1. Let the dog approach you at first. If you try to run up on the dog and pet it, the dog may take that as a threat. Instead, give the dog a chance to explore, letting it come up to you in its own time. It will come say hello once it gets the lay of the land a bit. 2. Get the dog used to affection. Once your dog starts coming to you on its own, it's time to work on touch. Try petting the dog. Make sure the dog can see you coming, and don't move over the head from the front. You can pet the dog's back, for instance, but make sure your dog can see your hand ahead of time. To make your dog more comfortable, try crouching down or sitting on the floor. 3. Move affection to less tolerated spots. Your dog has places on its body that it doesn't like touched, such as its paws or ears. However, you'll need to be able to touch those places to do things like trim its nails. Being able to touch these areas will also help when the dog goes to the vet, so it's important to teach your dog how to tolerate being touched in those areas. While it's easiest to do in puppies, you can also work with older dogs. Start when the dog is already relaxed near you, and pick a word that you will associate with this activity, such as cuddle or touch. Pet the areas the dog likes, such as the head. Use the word you've chosen, and then pet the area. After you've done it, give the dog a treat. Each time you try this tactic, move closer to an area that your dog has a problem with, such as its paw. If the dog tenses, move back to an area it's comfortable with. Keeping practicing this tactic in small doses each day to slowly get your dog used to the idea. Once you can touch the dog's paws, work on holding them or touching different areas. You can switch out treats for praises and good pets. 4. Introduce your dog. Introducing your dog to new people may take some patience. When you're in your home, you can have someone come over. Block off an area, so your dog has to be in the same room. Then just have a normal conversation with your friend. The person shouldn't pay any attention to the dog at first. Let the dog investigate. If the dog does, have the person talk calmly to the dog. The person can pet the dog if the dog seems interested, as long as your friend stays gentle and follows the same rules you did when starting out with the dog. You can also give your friend some treats to give to the dog. In public, it's also a good idea to only let your dog approach other people. Don't force interactions. If your dog is especially nervous, you can use treats to get them used to the idea of strangers. For instance, when you're on a walk, try giving your dog treats when you see people approaching, keeping the people at a safe distance, one that doesn't make your dog nervous. As your dog gets used to the idea, you can let people get closer, still offering treats to the dog. 5. Socialize your dog. Socializing your dog just means letting it get used to other dogs and people. You can have people over to your house, or you can take your dog to a dog park or another dog-friendly area. Just remember, it's important that you don't force your dog to do anything, as that can backfire. Let your dog interact with other people and dogs at its own pace. Always watch for warning signs of biting or aggression. If your dog is leaning towards aggression, the dog will try to make itself look bigger with ears up, ruffed up fur, and the tail up. An aggressive dog may bark, growl, or lunge. A dog that's anxious will try to make itself look smaller by crouching down, putting its tail between its legs, or licking its paws. Both of these postures, and any combination of the two, could indicate your dog is getting upset. Try not to force your dog to do anything when it's exhibiting these behaviors. Keep other dogs and people away if it's exhibiting these behaviors. 6. Work on leash manners. When walking on a leash, the dog should stay by your side. To work on this behavior, use part of the dog's daily food. Start with a few bits just to get things going. Next, feed the dog parts of the food whenever the dog stays next to you on the walk. If the dog pulls ahead, stop moving. When the dog stops and looks, praise the dog, then give it a piece of kibble. 7. Teach gentle mouthing. Some dogs can bite too hard when playing with humans without even realizing it. However, you can train your dog to be gentle. Start by playing with your dog, letting the dog play mouth on your hands. If the dog bites too hard, give a high-pitched yell or yelp. Let your hand go limp. That signals to the dog that it's broken the rules of play. After a few minutes, resume playing again. If your dog bites hard again, repeat the process. Only do it 3 times in 15 minutes. After that, stop playing.